Hey everyone, welcome to my channel where I usually show you some of my generative art projects, but for this video I like to do a little recap and look into the future for this year, what will happen, what has happened in the last year. To end my year in a nice and relaxed way, I planned a cool road trip to Norway, Lofoten with my partner. And our first station was Aarhus, Denmark, which is for me an unexpectedly nice city, and they have super fun traffic lights. And the favorite place I went to for the 1.5 days that we were there was Stock 1, which is a public library that also has a fantastic make space and maker equipment. Well, that also reminds me of a rather sad story I had to encounter this year. So I am very active in the hack and make space Verschwörhaus in Ulm, and we were actually publicly funded by Ulm City. But for some unexpected and for me quite unexplainable reason, the city decided to claim our hackspace name and logo and register them as their trademark basically, which we of course were not very happy with. And we countered that, and we are now in a legal process where we got sued because we used our own name and we now have to claim it back. And all of this is of course very expensive, time consuming, and drains a lot of our energy. And I have to say my energy level is currently already quite low, so I'm not even that involved in it. And still this is something that nags in my head, and it's a super weird story. If you want to read up on that, I put the link below so you have English and German description on what is currently going on. And if you want to support our hackspace, we are very happy to take donations actually. But to end the hackspace story on a positive note, we are currently searching for new rooms for our hackspace because we had to, of course, leave the old ones that were funded by the city, and we are pretty close to renting a new space. So I hope in the very close or very near future I can maybe show you a bit around on what Verschwörhaus is now up to. From Denmark we took the ferry to Norway, which takes about 3 to 4 hours I think it was, and I really enjoy ferry rides. This is always a very cool and relaxing experience. I live here in my tiny house very close to the mountains and I'm very far from the sea, so I enjoy it a lot when I'm on a ship somehow. We had a few days in Oslo next, where we went to pretty cool museums. Fram Museum, for example, is fantastic, where they have this old ship, the Fram, and they just built the whole museum house around it, super cool. And there's also a history museum which has this lovely fluffy cat. It's the most fluffy cat I've ever seen, and it seems to live there. It went from house to house and showed us around, and I think that was by far the best museum guide I had in a long time. We also met a friend in Oslo. This is Simon from Applied Procrastination. You might remember him from the ferrofluid clock. If not, totally check out his video. He's amazing. He builds amazing stuff. And also later on our trip, actually back down again, we went via Sweden. We met Arturo, who you also might know from the maker scene. His company is called Solder Party, so absolutely check them out, especially if you enjoy building stuff with CircuitPython. After Oslo we drove further north through a national park, and these landscapes were totally surreal to me. It's like an ice desert. And I think the coldest we got there was -20. I already experienced -20 winters at home, but this is really cold, especially when it gets windy. You need to check your fingers. Have gloves with you. And we spent the night in a very cozy hut. It's greater than a hut, like it's a hotel, but in a very cozy style. And this is where I had a lot of time to catch up with my Schnipsel drawings. I'm not sure if you know them. I publish them on my website. Every day I do a tiny drawing on what, was positive on the day, on what moved me the day. And last year was so stressful that I skipped a lot of drawings, but I wrote down a word or a little sentence on what I should have drawn on the day, so I'm now trying to catch up with these drawings. If you're interested in these, just check the website. And the next big step for our road trip was the fantastic Atlantic Road. I'm pretty sure you've already seen images of these curly roads going over those tiny islands in the sea. And we were super lucky. We got about half an hour where we had a little bit of sun peeking out. It was an amazing atmosphere. The light was such a warm, weird light on these harsh, snowy landscapes. It was super fun, and we actually drove several times on the road because it was so cool and such a cool experience, and we took a lot of photos, of course. And when I'm already on, curvy things, the thing that I am currently working on is graph draw. This is part of my dissertation for university, for my PhD. And I'm working with neural nets that can create pattern drawings that are trained by one example image from an artist. And I'm currently experimenting a lot with that. And for my Patreons, I made graph draw images with my pen plotter and my software and sent them out to the goodie tier people that support me. And over the last 1.5 years, I had this amazing residency at KI Salon Heilbronn, where I was in a lot of events that were somehow connected with AI and art, or somewhere in between. There were so many cool people. I found so many new connections. I gave so many talks and workshops. Now I'm taking the time to catch up with my PhD stuff. And so because the residency is over, it would be super cool if you would maybe consider supporting me on Patreon, because I'm a full-time freelancing creative technologist, and I would be super glad if you like my stuff maybe, and also wouldn't mind to drop me a little money in the donation bag. After Atlantic Road, we still had to travel quite a hop to Lofoten, and we decided to go by ship actually, because we like ships. And there's Hurtigruten, which is an old post-ship route that is now traveled with more modern ships. There's one important tip: if you book Hurtigruten, go via the Norwegian website, because it's way cheaper. It's by far cheaper. And it's a very lovely ship. You can sit on the explorer deck and have an amazing view on the Norwegian landscape, and because you are not driving like through the sea and instead along the coast of Norway, there's always a cool thing to look at, so it's always interesting. Only problem is in winter, you don't have that much light per day. And we spent Christmas on the ship, which also was a very cute experience. And usually after Christmas I joined the Chaos Communication Congress, but because of Corona, it's not happening for the last few years. And there was sort of an online version of that. And this year it was more of a distributed little tiny events going on. And every year I record a talk with my good friend Blinry on computers, art and curiosity things. And the series is called Operation Mindfuck. And this time, because I was on the road and Blinry was also sort of on the road, we pre-recorded it, and you can watch it in German and also with a dubbed English version if you're interested. And then we finally reached Lofoten, which is absolutely mesmerizing. You have snowy beaches, you are at the sea, in the background you have huge snowy mountains, and this combination from like cold, snowy nature to the sea for me is super strong and fascinating mixture. I'm sure maybe it's just me, but I was mind blown on that beach. It was absolutely crazy to watch. We had about, I think, 3 to 4 hours daylight, which is never super bright. It's always more like a cloudy day, I would describe it, but that's totally enough to explore little cities and little cool nature places and cool paths you can walk along. And of course, there are northern lights. And this was also a super novel experience for me. I've never seen northern lights before, and on photos they look even slightly brighter because the camera sensor can pick up the light even better than the human eye, but still they are sparkling and you have these wavy curtains. And yeah, we enjoyed it a lot to just go wandering around at night and like hunting for cool northern light moments and photos. And another cool thing we found on Lofoten is this tiny house by Coda. But as you know, I'm living also in a Coda tiny house. It's the big version, it's the Coda Loft Extended. And it's already a year that I'm now in it. The year went by so quickly. I'm not sure, maybe you've seen the video where we teared down our old house and put up this new tiny house, this new huge tiny house. If not, go watch it. I think they are very fun to watch videos, I would say. And now that I'm 1 year in here, I think the next thing that I'd like to shoot is a review on how it's to live in this cool tiny house. So if you enjoy my videos, if you would like to see this review, please consider subscribing, maybe also consider supporting me on Patreon. And I'm super looking forward to have a fantastic year 2023, right? Yeah. I'm super looking forward to this year. I think a lot of stuff will happen. I hope I can put out more short videos. Maybe that's what I'm aiming for. And well, thanks so much for everyone who supported me over the last few years. This means the world to me. I'm super happy to be able to do the work in the way that I do. And I'd super love to see you soon. Bye!